Good afternoon. This is the Opa-locka CRA board meeting workshop, not board meeting, workshop. Today is Wednesday, July the 15th, and the time is 4:09 p.m. I would like to welcome everyone. We look forward to having a very productive workshop on today, and hopefully we could get a lot accomplished. Board Member Bass, if you would give us an invocation, please. You're on mute.
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Dear Father in heaven, God, as we come before you today, we just want to say thank you. Thank you, Father God, for the air that we breathe. Father, we thank you for those who are here, Lord God, bringing minds together, Lord God, to accomplish great things. Bless us, Father God. Give us wisdom, knowledge, understanding, revelation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There was no need, since this is a workshop, there was no need to do a roll call. So we'll go right into the opening remarks. Board members, Board Member Bass,
Chair
and
Russell.
I think Board Member Paget is on. If you all have any opening remarks, can we, you could give your remarks and let's, oh, well, let me do this. Let me just introduce. That's what it says, introduction of board members. We have Board Member Bass on, Board Member Paget. I don't think his video is on. And I think that's it for the board members. I see that our city manager, Mr. Pate, is on. Of course, our director, Mr. Gay. We have our city attorney on. Mrs. Weeks is on. And we have our clerk of the board, Ms. Hall. And Mr. Gay, if I forgot anyone that's on the board, you can do the introduction of staff and of any guest speakers that we have.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. For today's workshop, this is basically a part 2 of the workshop that we had on June 24th. We ran a little short in time as it relates to that particular workshop, and we didn't get to certain items that were on the agenda. But what we wanted to do is have a continuation of that particular workshop and a conversation as to what the intent and ideals as relates to the community redevelopment plan and the community redevelopment agency for the city of Opa-locka should be looking towards.
Mr. Gay?
Yes.
Before you continue, may I read the script for the meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, please.
Yes, Madam Attorney, go ahead.
Okay. Pursuant to Executive Order Number 2069, issued by the Office of Governor Ron DeSantis on March 20th, 2020, municipalities may conduct meetings of their governing boards without having a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location and utilizing communications media technologies such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by Section 120.154.5B2 of the Florida statutes. The members of the Community Redevelopment Agency appearing remotely for this meeting are Board Member Paget, Board Member Bass, Chairwoman Wessel. An opportunity was given to the public to email the city clerk, the CRA clerk prior to the workshop, and the CRA clerk will state for the record whether there have been any questions or comments or concerns on the items you'll hear tonight on tonight's agenda. This meeting is being streamed live at www.youtube.com/user/City of Opa-locka.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Clerk, did you receive any comments or concerns from the community?
Madam Chair, I did not receive any comments or emails or phone calls from the public.
Okay. Except for the one from Board Member Titus.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Director, if you would introduce your staff that's on the line and who the guest speakers are, please.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. The CRA staff is basically the staff that also operates the community development department within the city of Opa-locka. Myself being the director or the CRA manager for the CRA. We have Ms. Hall, who is our CRA clerk. We have Mr. Delane, who is the CRA staff person, and Mr. Gerald Lee, who's also a CRA staff person. Our executive director for the CRA is the city manager, Mr. John Pate. As it relates for our guest speakers, we actually have two groups that will be speaking to you today regarding projects and proposals that could possibly have an impact within the CRA area. The first will be the Anthem group, the Anthem project, which is with the veterans group. Mr. Chuck Arnold and Mr. Kevin Humes and Deacon Stanley are a part of that particular group. And at the appropriate time, they will be making a presentation for that particular project. We also have Mr. Darwin Williams, who is working with a group, a wellness group, and they are in the process of working on a project at the Jackson Women Birth Center, formerly known as the Jackson's Women Birthing Center in the city of Opa-locka. They are procuring that opportunity to do a rehab and redevelopment on that particular site. And we will have another presentation by staff regarding looking at an area of the CRA area within the city of Opa-locka as a technical center. So those would be pretty much our guest speakers that will be speaking in regards to presentations for today. As you may recall, are there any questions?
Yes, one I see on here, the Taquina Invocation Innovation District. Who's
Yes.
that?
That will be a staff presentation.
Staff.
Yes.
Okay, say that first name.
It's Taquina.
Taquina. Okay.
Yes. And they will explain what that means during their presentation.
Okay, so staff is making that presentation.
Staff will be making that presentation.
Okay, for Jackson, the Jackson site, Mr. Darwin will be making that presentation.
Yes, he will.
Okay. I know that the mayor has other engagements, so I would like to know from he and also Commissioner Bass if we want to skip over number 5 and go to number 6 and let the presentations be first, and then we could go into the other projects. If Mr. Director, if you have someone that's going to be making a presentation about the Facade program, talking about the Facade program?
We do have an update as it relates to the Facade program. And basically, number 5 is going to be more of a recap from the last workshop that we have. So we weren't going to have presentations per se for those, but just a brief update. But if you would like to reverse the order for the sake of time and with the consideration of the other board members, I would not have a problem with that.
Okay, I think I would like to, if it's okay with the other board members, I would like to have number 6 first so we can have the presentations to make sure that we use our time wisely so that, Mr. Mayor, if you need to leave, at least you can get the presentations from the presenters.
This is Board Member Bass. I'm fine with it.
Okay.
All right, Board Member Russell, thank you all. My bad. Chairman Russell, thank you very much for the consideration. Yeah, I'm fine with moving forward. I think I should be here for the entirety of the meeting, so thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Well, Mr. Director, if you would move on with 6 and then we'll come back to 5. I appreciate it. Thank you all too for your consideration.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Starting out with number 6, and we're talking about what the future of the Opa-locka CRA. As you all have very well been versed, and from the last presentations that we were talking about, we talked about the past and the present of what the CRA has gone through for the past 6.5, 7 years. One of the things that we wanted to begin to focus on is to fully establish where the CRA is on a financial footing. And that's some things that we've been working on as far as the reconciliations of the accounts and activities between the city and the CRA, making sure that there's proper documentation of the agreements between the city, between the CRA, and also Miami-Dade County as an entity that's a part of the CRA process. And as we have gone through those particular processes, one of the things that we begin to focus on is what does the future hold for the CRA? And I noticed that is a big concern for the board members as well as for the community. And even though the CRA only makes up about 18% of the city, it is a very influential 18% of the city. It incorporates our downtown area. It incorporates an area of great economic opportunity within the industrial areas. And it also incorporates an area of great growth within the Magnolia North and Magnolia Gardens residential areas. So as we have talked about all the projects that have occurred or are slated to occur as a part of the plan, we're beginning now to look at what is being proposed to potentially have a great impact on the future. Several months ago, probably a little about more of a year ago, we were approached by the group called Veterans Power, and they were looking at opportunities to help the city of Opa-locka and more so with the CRA with opportunities of growth. And they have this unique project that is called the Anthem Project that they're looking at doing as a public-private partnership with their entities along with the city of Opa-locka and the Opa-locka CRA. Mr. Kevin Humes and Mr. Deacon Stanley have been the spearheaders of this particular activity as relates to boots on the ground, moving this particular project forward. And they have put together a collaborative group, which includes the likes of Senator Ron Silver and Chuck Arnold, who is a philanthropist / developer, who is putting together this group to basically make this project move forward. I'm going to have Mr. Arnold come before you to make a presentation as to what this particular project is all about and how it can have an impact within the CRA area. So, Mr. Arnold, if you are available, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that introduction, Mr. Gay, and I appreciate everyone's time today at this meeting. Myself, Mr. Kevin Humes, and Senator Silver feel that there is a big economic growth to be had in Southern Florida, and that area is known as the city of Opa-locka. We've seen everything around the city build up and expand, and this small community that has a lot of families that have lived there for many generations, we feel we can come into this community and develop with a master plan, an organized operation using multiple different investors and multiple different organizations from contracting to development to develop 3 different markets. The residential market, which is sorely needed today for a lot of those families. The commercial market, which is sorely needed today for businesses and industry. And the industrial market, tying in the community with the other things that are surrounding it, including the Opa-locka Airport and the Carrie Meeks Foundation. We have put together a comprehensive plan that can involve, depending on the city's interest, in assisting the city in developing bond capital for their expansion and taking all of the properties that are either undervalued in taxes, unusable, or that have been abandoned, and turning all of these into vibrant income tax producing properties for the city. We look at this as a master plan We have identified players that we would be using in New York, Northern California, and of course, Southern Florida. We've identified multiple different companies and manufacturers and developers as partners that have been submitted to the city. And we feel that the city deserves a master plan, not individual unique plans that do not fit together, but a synonymous and congruous plan that will develop the city and organize it so that the people that live there and the people that come there for work and the people that visit all are met with a very familiar, friendly environment that is productive to the city and the inhabitants of the city. And at the same time, we understand that these communities that we would be putting in there have families. We believe in the residential area, besides the 5 parks that are inside of Opa-locka today, that community development areas for the children, both in education and physical exercise, are an important catalyst to the city. We hope that the city has reviewed our master development plan and feels favorable upon this. If in the event there are questions, Mr. Humes, Senator Silver, and myself are available, or a subsequent, our counsel is Mr. Jeff Perlow. He's very familiar with master development plans, and we would suggest that if this in fact is something that can be accepted by the city, that we would work on the agreement with Mr. Perlow, Senator Silver, and Mrs. Meeks, who represents the city of Opa-locka. I know Mr. Kevin Humes has a few things to add to that. I thank you for listening to our presentation today. Mr. Humes?
Thank you, Chuck. Again, we're very excited about the collaboration between Opa-locka Airport, and I know there's been issues over the years, Opa-locka Airport and the municipality, but we're confident that the Anthem project could be a bridge between Opa-locka and Opa-locka Airport, which is the Carrie Meeks Foundation that, if I'm not mistaken, I think Mr. Kraft, are you on the line, Tony? Well, Mr. Kraft, we are going to an agreement with the Carrie Meeks Foundation to begin to develop workforce development and strategic partnerships with Amazon, as well as government contracting. American Veterans Industries, we are a certified government contractor that's been doing business for the last 20 years with the government. So we see that as a viable commercial opportunity to incorporate new business development co-ops, also with our strategic partnerships with the Israeli Consul General. They're looking at Opa-locka to be a potential sister city with the airport activity. So again, we are very excited about this. Deacon Stanley has been instrumental. We've worked on this for a couple of years. And again, we're ready to move forward with Senator Silver and our team to bring investment dollars as well as everything that the city would like to see go in the plan. That's our position.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. I don't know if there's any questions or concerns, but this is a project that is looking from multiple standpoints. It's looking at from a job creation standpoint, business development standpoint, and looking at the balance of properties that are available for development. Now, this doesn't necessarily be focused on city-owned property, but it's also looking at properties that are privately owned, where there could be a joint venture opportunity created in order to create that synergy for the types of development that we'd like to foresee within the city of Opa-locka and within the downtown, within the CRA area. So I don't know if any of the board members or any of the participants have any questions. If so, we'd like to hear from them now.
First of all, I would like to hear from the board members. Board member Mayor Paget, go ahead.
Is there a written presentation or some documentation that substantiates what was just said?
Yes, and it was forwarded too. Also, Mayor, there was a continuing chronological timeline chart that we sent over to everyone. I sent it over a couple of times, but I sent it over today as well, and it kind of outlines with benchmarks, sequence of executions, timelines.
Board member Paget, after our last workshop, you should have received a package regarding the four future projects that were being pinned upon. And one of the projects was a presentation that was presented for this particular entity.
Board Member Paget,
Yes.
I've received the documents, quite a few documents. I've been going through them. So it is a lot to digest. I hope I'm following it chronologically, because I've gotten a lot, and it seems to be very comprehensive. So I do have a few questions, but if Board Member Paget.
Yeah. So I was, when was the who sent those documents over? Because I'm trying to find them and I don't see.
Well, you should have received this morning. I think we received one from Mr. Humes. Received several from Mr. Stanley, and one from Kevin and Eugene was the heading.
Okay.
From the Veterans Affairs.
Could you hear me? Could I be heard?
Yeah.
Hello?
Deacon?
Who's
Yes.
speaking? Who's speaking?
This is Deacon Stanley. Deacon Stanley.
Okay, Deacon. Go right ahead.
Mayor Pickett, I have sent over also and correspondence would have already been sent to you. Your secretary named Joanna had sent me her email because I was having problems myself getting certain information to you. So I know that I have spoken with her on several occasions pertaining to your email being sent to you. So I don't know if you've spoken to her, but I know that her and your staff member Randy have tried to intercept certain documents that I have sent to you myself, trying to get in touch with you. And I also sent something over to you pertaining to the zone that you had pertaining to the procurement contracts with the county. I watched that. I attended that. That was very interesting and very knowledgeable. So I have been trying to reach you myself. So I don't know why it's the problem you haven't reached anything, haven't gotten to you, because I have also been trying to follow up to make sure that you got this information, sir.
All right. So I did receive the email from this morning. See it, Mr. Humes. I do have a lot of information being sent, so trying to go through it and get the right stuff. It's can be a little overwhelming sometimes. But I do see the document from Mr. Humes. I'm a little confused about what it is intending. So help me understand what we're trying to do. Like, what is it? What exactly is it you need from this board? And what is the relationship exactly with the city of Opa-locka? Yeah, that's what I've been trying to figure out. And I'm not able to deduce that from the documents that I received this morning.
Mayor, we do apologize that you didn't get the concrete information, timelines. We apologize that you didn't get the white paper and the PowerPoint presentations. I will personally make sure that you get the documentation so you can fast track where everybody is right now. The document that was sent out today, we knew because of the situation that Opa-locka is in. I've been appointed by Commissioner Barbara Jordan to handle the veterans in District 1 and their families. So my concerns is the military veterans community in District 1 throughout the city. but the document that we sent over, because we're a government contractor, and there's some conversation that's been conducted with Senator Rubio in reference to this opportunity, because we knew at one point in time it was going to require federal support, because there's a legislation proposal, pre-legislation that ties into this proposal as well. I've done a lot of going back and forth to Washington. I never go to Washington with a business plan without some type of pre-legislation, because I just know how it works up there. With that being said, that document would just indicated the communication that's been going on with Senator Rubio's office. He's excited about the Anthem project. He's excited about Opa-locka to become a veteran-friendly community. So the federal support is there. So that document, that particular document, we just wanted you to look primarily at the continuing and chronological timeline chart, indicating what our initial goals and objectives are based on the conversation that we've had with Mr. Gay and with the chairwoman. So that document just indicated information that was communicated from a senatorial and congressional perspective, because we know all these pieces have to move in order for us to get any kind of consideration from up top. So now our concern now is just beginning to look at the master developer agreement and from a legal perspective and see how we can move that forward so we can start developing this opportunity.
Mr. Gay, if you can just, number one, if you have what they're referring to, please email that to me right
Okay.
now. And then could you just very succinctly tell me what it is this is about? Like, just because I'm confused. I hear the agreements, I hear the relationships with the county, federal, I hear the veteran thing. And I hear the partnership with the airport, but I'm trying to figure out within the CRA district, what is this? This is a new development that's coming in. If so, where will it be located? Is this them doing some type of veteran small business programming? If so, how did that work with your department in planning and economic development? Could you break that down to Mr. Gay very succinctly?
Okay. And as you say, there's a great deal of information that has been going back and forth. We actually provided that information to all of the board members on July 6th. So you should have that information available, but we will provide it to you once again. Very succinctly, as it relates to the CRA, this particular group is looking at opportunities for public-private partnership as it relates to city-owned properties or properties where the property owners are not really looking at any type of major development opportunities, and where the city, this particular group, and the CRA can come congruently to create development. As he's talked about the economic opportunities, as he's talked about the job development opportunities, one of the things that we're looking at moving the city more toward becoming is a destination, a place where people will not only just have a job, but a place where people can also lay their head after they've gone to work. So we want to be able to build into the housing and residential opportunities for the people who are going to be those job seekers and the business people that are going to assist in building the economic base for the city. So there are a few properties that are city owned. There are several properties that are privately owned. Most of them are within the CRA area. There are a few that are outside of the CRA, but I would say a predominance of them are within the CRA. So we want to see where there's an opportunity, and they have expressed interest in several of these different properties. They have approached the different property owners to see where there may be joint venture opportunities, or to at least look at it from the standpoint of developing the property in a team building form of fashion. And most of the properties are actually between the downtown area going toward the airport. So those are the two primary areas that they're focused upon, that they're looking at acquiring property either jointly with the city or separately but receiving some type of assistance within the CRA areas. That is the primary focus within the CRA prayer view.
Mayor Pidgeot, may I?
Hold on. So, the city-owned properties, you say it's city-owned, not CRA-owned, correct?
That's correct.
So, would this be a conversation with the city then?
You're kind of breaking up, Mayor.
All right.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up. But the reason that the CRA itself does not own any properties within the city, but there is a within the memorandum of understanding, if there was to be any type of development done within the CRA area and it was to be on a city-owned property, that the city would work hand in hand, either by proffering the property over to the CRA in ownership in order to do a joint venture project with the CRA and whatever particular project with the CRA and whatever particular.
All right, I think my connection is off.
Yeah, you're a little bit clearer now.
All right, you can hear me now?
Yes,
All
we
right,
can
I'm
hear
gonna
you.
exit and come back in.
Okay.
Oh, you can hear me now? We're good?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So yeah, let me get that information first. And then I also in hearing about business opportunities, I know that as part of the agreement between the county and the Caribbean Meat Foundation, there was I think it was an agreement back. I forgot what exactly it was, but it was so-called services, social services, job opportunities that were dedicated specifically for the city of Opa-locka. Does this
Just
fall
1 second,
under that agreement?
Mayor Paget. You're breaking up too much. I think you need to go out and come back in so we can understand. We're not understanding what you're saying. Okay?
I think he's frozen, so.
Okay. All right.
Fine.
While we're waiting on Mayor Paget, I see Vice Mayor Board Member Chris Davis have joined us in the workshop. And I think Commissioner Bass is still there. Commissioner Bass or Vice Mayor Davis, you have any questions while we wait on the mayor to get back on the line?
Yes, I kind of came in the middle of the presentation, and I have been seeing the emails, and I also got the lengthy package that was provided to us earlier this week. I guess, Mr. Gay, I know we talked about, I guess as a board, about on the potential of what a public-private partnership would look like, and I heard you kind of briefly discuss that with the mayor, as far as what properties are, I guess, owned by the city and the relationship that would have with the CRA going forth with the project. I guess based on the presentation, they're proffering both options. One where they would acquire the property, and then the other, they're asking for some sort of joint venture with the city. The discussion, I guess, what's being provided tonight as far as a presentation, or the ask for tonight, is it along the lines of the joint venture, or are they like willing to acquire the property? I guess, from my perspective, we could clear that up.
Board Member Davis, it's actually a combination of the two. It's really dependent upon what properties they will be seeking to develop. Just speaking within the downtown area, we have at least 2 or 3 properties that are city-owned, and then there are several vacant properties that are privately owned. In order to approach either one, there would need to be some type of a master plan, as Mr. Chuck Arnold has spoken about, to speak to what type of projects we would like to have occur in those particular sites. And as you may already know, we've already gone through the process of identifying a consultant to look at specifically the downtown area and creating a downtown master plan. So there are opportunities to link a lot of these components together. Of course, if we're not the property owner, we really can't dictate what can be developed on that particular site, whether it be from the city side or the CRA side. But as you have an opportunity to create these joint venture partnerships or a public-private partnership, you have an opportunity to basically be a person at the table to make some determination as to what the final outcome or what the initial proposal will be for these particular projects and plans. So we're looking at it from both perspectives, from city-owned property as well as privately owned property.
Okay, so before they go ahead, I guess, with a site plan and an agreement and all that, they want to have, I guess, a conversation with us as a board regarding some sort of joint venture, if that may be possible. So,
Correct.
Okay, so that's the purpose of pretty much the discussion and presentation for tonight for the board.
Correct. This is basically to bring them to you as an introduction of a future opportunity within the city of Opa-locka and within the CRA area for redevelopment opportunities.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gay. That's all for me.
Okay.
Okay,
We do have the mayor back.
Mayor's back. All right, Mayor Paget, let's try it again.
All right. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I apologize. Forgive me for that.
It's okay.
So yeah, I was once I get the information, I would like to just review it a little more clearly. I know that the city disposed of quite a bit of our surplus property, so I'm curious to see what exactly we're talking about in terms of the property that we own as a city that is available for development. So I look forward to seeing that information. And I also overheard the discussion about the master plan. So I would like to see how that connects. But my question was to Mr. Krapp, and wondering, is this a part of the agreement that the Meek Foundation had with the county in regards to a specific allocation for workforce strength development for City of Opa-locka residents?
If Tony's not on, I can answer that, Mayor. We've been in some discussions.
Hello.
Actually, Tony is on.
Before you answer, I think Mr. Krapp, he is on the line if he can
Oh,
answer.
okay, perfect, yes.
I'm on the line. Can you hear me at this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Krapp, we can hear you.
In response to the mayor's inquiry, this project is not directly tied to any obligations that the Carrie Meek Foundation has as regard to providing support and assistance to the residents of the city of Opa-locka. But it is part of our larger mission, which is looking at workforce development, looking at increasing business investment and other opportunities in the entirety of Miami-Dade County, but particularly focusing on the Opa-locka, Miami Gardens community. So this will be in addition to, Mr. Mayor, anything else that the foundation has been obligated to.
Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing those details, that PowerPoint, get a little more clear about what the relationship between this group and also the CRA will be. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bass is on. Board Member Bass, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, Chair, not at this time.
Okay. My question would be to Mr. Honor and the group. I was going through this comprehensive development agreement. That is, I know it's a draft of what an agreement between you and whatever entities that you're looking to partner with would look like. Because that was a part of the documents that I received. It's a comprehensive development agreement between, and by the city of Opa-locka and RCK Development.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this is what an agreement would look like between you and whoever the private partner relationship entails.
And the city, Commissioner Russell, we had tried to put together a comprehensive plan to take into consideration all of the needs of the city from a consumer standpoint, residential, to the commercial bringing in of restaurants and business in the community, as well as the industrial, which would be involving the Carrie Meeks location. Our interest is
is this the plan that you're referring to?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because in this plan, I didn't see I didn't see anything about the Carrie Meek Foundation. I saw several other entities, but you'll bring us up to speed on that later, I'm quite sure.
Yes, ma'am.
How all of the entities, because I was having my problem was coming in is following the project chronologically. I got a lot of information, which was good information, and it looks like good partnerships, but I couldn't follow it exactly what I got an idea of what you're looking at, but I couldn't follow the project because it was so many moving parts, I would say, to it. So it's a lot of moving parts.
Yes.
So
maybe I can share with you just a reason for that. When we originally looked at and we worked with Mr. Gay from the beginning, myself, Senator Silver, who's on, and Mr. Humes, we looked at a plan that instead of a one-off where you've got one nice area and the place next to it might not be as nice, we wanted to organize Opa-locka as a whole project. So we looked at going out and soliciting business for restaurants. We looked at soliciting groups to build homes for leasing or for multifamily dwellings. So when we started with Opa-locka, we've been more or less waiting to get to the point where we are right now. But instead of stopping, we kept adding on these tangential pieces, Commissioner Russell, so that a lot of the work that you're seeing are things that we've been developing in anticipation of hopefully having a relationship with the city of Opa-locka, including to the most recent with Carrie Meeks, which is just now being implemented to be a part of that. So where you see the original concept of us coming in and trying to redevelop and re-beautify the city as a whole, where we've got individual transactions going on, the transactions that you're looking at have all come in since we started this process. And every day we're working on new potential financings and opportunities to come to the city. I hope that helps to explain a little bit why all of these different files and everything are there tangentially, because we hope to have all of them or a good portion of them as a part of remaking the city of Opa-locka.
Well, that helps me out. And I know you mean well, but I'm not a commissioner. I'm gonna leave that to I'm gonna leave that to the rest of them. Don't give me that.
Okay. I'll rescind that portion.
I'll
I'm
just
sorry,
take
ma'am.
chair. I'll just take chair. Don't give me that. Leave that. But anyway, I'm getting a better understanding of what you of what you all are presenting. It's just that so many, the city, the CRA, and so many other entities are involved. You know, hopefully by the next time we talk or we meet, we can have a chronological order of how you would like to see this plan unfold. And I think with everyone, you've heard everyone say that we've been getting a lot of information. Not that it's bad information, but just that we've been getting so much information spontaneously and not all together as a packet. So you're trying to figure out, where does it fit? Where does this piece fit? And now we hear about the Meek Foundation. You know, where does all of this fit? So thank you very much for the presentation. And My last question would be, you all are looking to the city or the CRA or whoever the property owners are, you're looking to purchase those properties, or you're looking for them to donate the properties?
What we are looking at is a plan where we can work with the city and the CRA to tie up all the properties, to do joint ventures on each one individually, but have them all fit together. So our first thing on our agenda, Chairperson, and I stand corrected on the commissioner, I apologize for that. Our first agenda, Chairperson, is to have a definitive relationship with the CRA and the city of Opa-locka that regulates and defines our relationship with you, what properties we have available, how we can take those in, how we can negotiate new businesses on there, from hotels to restaurants to industry. But we want to do it as a complete package. We think that if you segment it and you have multiple projects going on, it's not going to be as successful as if we came in and organized this and made it a whole master plan.
Yeah, well, that's something that the mayor and the city commission would have to look at, because the CRA does not own the properties that are within the CRA boundaries. So those properties are solely the city's responsibility. But I know that the city is looking for whatever goes on that, you know, that they can be viable tax generating properties. So that would be
That's our
conversation.
interest.
Yeah,
When
that would be-
If I
Sorry.
can add to your statement, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
While the city is the primary owner for city-owned properties, let's not forget that there is a benefit for being a city-owned property that's within the CRA, and the CRA does bring in a definite benefit and an advantage to how certain properties can be developed. That's why we're looking at this from the standpoint of not just the city, but also the CRA being a part of the partnership.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that helps clear up some of the questions that I have. This is going to be an ongoing conversation, I'm quite sure, with the city as well as the CRA. So we look forward to learning more and see where we go from here. I'm quite sure the mayor and the commission, on that hat that they wear, they're also interested in seeing where this takes the city, because we are all interested in making Opa-locka a better city for people to work, play, and have, live. So if that's Mr. Gay.
Yes, ma'am. If there aren't any other questions, we can move on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
the
you
next
all.
item.
Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Honor.
Thank you.
Silver and Mr. Humes and Deacon Stanley and Mr. Krapp also. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item we have on our agenda speaks toward the Jackson Birthing Center. As a part of the redevelopment plan for the city of Opa-locka CRA, there was some reference as to how this particular facility could be revamped or revitalized into some type of a medical or something related to medical technology to improve the quality of life, as well as provide job opportunities within the city of Opa-locka. As you know, this particular facility has been vacant for a number of years. I think it's been vacant since 2008, 2009, once the Jackson Health Center took over Parkway Regional Hospital some years ago. And that basically made this particular facility defunct. The health department gave the property back over to Miami-Dade County, but with the stipulation that there needed to be some type of health component as a part of its revitalization. It's been out for RFP at least on 2 or 3 occasions. And we bring before you now Mr. Darvin Williams, who is a part of this particular wellness medical group. They have a proposal, and they are gaining the actual property rights to revitalize this particular site and redevelop the site. So I asked them to come and make a short presentation to give you some insight as to what they are looking to do with this particular facility and how it could have a positive impact as it relates to the CRA. So, Mr. Williams, the floor is yours. You got to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Gay. It is absolutely a pleasure to be here. And I really appreciate the opportunity from the chairwoman, the mayor, the vice mayor, and the entire board, Commissioner Bass as well. So, Mr. Gay, as far as the presentation, will I be showing that from my computer, or is that already loaded on your end?
Mr. Rodriguez is online with us. I do believe he received the package, but I think that you can access and actually make the presentation.
Okay, so I'll make the presentation from my screen, and this is a really brief presentation to try to give you all a flavor for the package and what we're planning to do with the property, and allow you to answer questions. So give me just a second.
Nelson, can you assist him in linking up?
Yeah, it's not, the presentation is not coming on my end.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
You have a share screen on the bottom?
Yep. Well, it's at the top on mine. As share.
You have the presentation on your screen currently right now?
Let me pull it up. Yes, I do. Can you all see it?
No, not yet. Go ahead and hit the share screen.
Okay, let me try it again.
Another screen should pop up with the presentation. You just gotta click on it and hit share.
Yeah, it's just giving me the option to share the screen. Okay, there we go. I think I can get it now. Can you all see it now?
Yes, we got it up.
Oh, fantastic. So I'm really excited about sharing this project with the members of the commission and the CRA. This has been a labor of love. I have to go through it really quickly, given the time allowed it, but I hope to be able to answer any questions that you have. This is the development plan for 2021 through 2025. So let's blink it in and out. So I think if someone speaks, it snatches the screen from me. Nelson, can you give me an assist? It's doing a stop video every single time it hears a noise. It puts me on red.
Yeah, I'll mute everybody.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so can you all see it? Well, of course you can't answer me, so let me make sure that you can see it. Well,
Yes, we can see it.
you can see it?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So the summary of the project is it's a 20 to $25 million project. It's going to be developed in 2 phases. Phase 1, we're going to take the existing building, and which is 44,000 square feet, and rehab that into a community center for the city of Opa-locka. Phase 2, we're looking to develop affordable housing units on the undeveloped parcels of the land. And we want all of this, I'm looking to have this all developed and delivered by July 2022, but it may take us, with some concerns from the county and with some concerns with COVID, it may take us 2023 before we have it all completed. But phase 1, I'm looking to have phase 1, which will be the community center, completed by this time next year. There are actually 6 components to the project: the health and wellness center, the food bank, the eatery, the senior housing, affordable housing units, the senior center, and the children's center. One of the things that is really special about this project is the economic impact programs that I put in there. So you will see a residential hiring plan, a city limits incentives, a job training program, and an annual job fair. A lot of that we would love to partner with the city of Opa-locka to facilitate the citizens getting employed and gainfully employed by the center. The residential hiring plan gives a 5% set aside of jobs to only entry-level positions to only the citizens of Opa-locka. Now, the city limits incentive plan, this is something that, as a former assistant city manager of Opa-locka, I was always trying to come up with ways that we can make money and increase our tax base so we have more money to spend. And the city limits incentives, that means all of the employees of the center, if they reside outside of the city of Opa-locka and they move into the city limits of Opa-locka, they receive an annual 5% bonus for every 12 months that they reside in the city limits and are residents, legal residents of the city of Opa-locka. That's something new that I've developed, and I'm hoping that gets adapted in other communities as I've been presented it to county commissioners. So I'm really excited about employing that here in the city of Opa-locka. Just if we could have, say, a few of the doctors purchase property in city in Opa-locka, redevelop that would have a tremendous impact. And 5% of their income can be a significant bonus. Say if we have one of our gastroenterologists who's making $400,000, that's a $20,000 annual bonus for him or her. So that's a significant amount of money. I'm going to move to the next slide. Nelson, can you all see the next slide?
No, we just see the first slide.
Okay.
Try the right arrow.
Yeah, it's not giving me. Yeah. When I click on the right arrow, it gives me Lubo's picture. So I'm going to stop and see if I can start it again. Well, let me just talk to you all about it. I don't want to belabor the point. So, and I'll go through it really fast. At the centers and the medical portion of it, what I did was I did a complete analysis of all of the services that are currently available in the city of Opa-locka. And I targeted in the healthcare sphere, and I targeted 2 things. One, is there any services that are currently offered that do not provide significant access for the 16,000 residents of Opa-locka? 2, are there any essential services that are not even available in the city limits? And so those were the determining factors. And you'll see that in the presentation. I can email the presentation to you all individually. So we're going to have about 16 different centers of health and wellness. The senior center, the center for the children, the primary care, specialty care, vision, dental, OBGYN, pediatrics, mental health, rehab services, pharmacy, a weight loss program, urgent care center, a research center, so that we have access to the latest technology, diagnostic and testing, even a beauty and barbershop, and I'll tell you how that ties in later, and a healthy eatery along that will work beside the food bank that will actually teach the residents how to cook delicious meals that are healthy. My goal here with developing this project was twofold. How do we make a financial impact onto the city of Opa-locka? And also, how do we make a health impact? One of my biggest concerns is always population health. But if you are struggling to put food on the table, it's really difficult for you to take that $20 and go get your medications for your blood pressure and pay your copay. So I wanted to create a system that treats the people, treats the community as a whole person, a holistic person. So with that portion of it, the 44,000 square feet has a bunch of programs in it that is going to offer a wide variety of services. And we're partially subsidizing those services as well. So say for instance, the daycare and the aftercare program. The aftercare program for the kids is going to be based off of income. What do we know? We know one of the highest barriers to elevation for single moms is daycare. They have that extra expense as aftercare. So based off of their income, we anticipate a large portion of the residents will have free services, get the services for free. So we'll take the children in, we'll give them training programs, we'll give them learning programs, we give them psychosocial rehab services, as well as nutritional support. The type of things that we're going to be doing for the seniors, now that's where we really put a lot of their resources for seniors. Opa-locka has about 2,500 seniors based off of the demographics that I've always seen over the last 4 years. So at the senior center, they're going to have a 4,000 square foot senior center. We'll provide free transportations for the seniors. We'll provide them with the meal support, with the food bank, pharmacy, delivery services. We will pick them up, drop them off. We have a meal service for them. So it'll really be comprehensive care for the seniors of Opa-locka. And really excited about that. And particularly one of the other things too would be the housing program. Okay. So yes, Lubo, you want to go to, say, the second slide? Let's do 2. Okay, great. Next slide. Okay, so there you see all the different components. Next slide. And there you see all the different health and wellness centers. Next slide. And here you have the community complex. This is our architectural design view. Right under the title, Wellspring Community Complex, we have, that's a draw up of the building for the residential side. The residential side is going to be 4 stories, 92 units. One bedroom, 1 bath. And on the left side of the screen, you actually see a mock-up of the 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And below that, you actually see the 44,000 square foot health and wellness center. Next slide. One of the most important things that about the senior housing center is that we had to divide it into 2 phases. And that was done to accommodate some of the challenges that that area faces as far as the public infrastructure. One of the things that I have requested with this project was a $2.8 million GOB funds for public infrastructure. Those are to be allocated next month in September, unless they have if the commission has an agenda, a committee meeting in August, which Chairwoman Audrey Edmondson is considering right now, then we'll go before the board for the grant money then. But at this time, we're scheduled to go for the grant money, and it's already been allocated. It just hasn't been assigned to this project. So that's what we're looking to do. Now, here's the challenge. $2.8 million seems like a lot. And when I was discussing this project with Commissioner Jordan, I was very well aware of everything that we face, that the city faces in the public infrastructure, that every single time it rains, that complete area just floods. And I'm talking about two feet of water or more just from a light rain. It has no drainage. And the clay pipes underneath just are constantly, pushing the water out. So what you see on this slide is we spent some money looking at how much it would cost to completely provide a new system for the city of Opa-locka. Now, I requested the GOB money, one, based off of what was available. This was last year when I made the request, and a cap. So they said, I said, what's the highest I can request without getting any pushback? And they said, well, the highest we've done to date is $2.8 million. So I said, well, give me $2.8 million. And I had hoped that would be enough to cover everything. I used the same architect team as the city hired when we were in communication with Durham. So it's the exact same team, and Mr. Austin was quite familiar with them. And they gave us an estimate for lift station 8 of $4.3 million. Well, $2.8 million is just a drop in the bucket of that. So there's two things that we can look at doing. Currently, the county wants to proceed with doing a on-site pump station. But one of the reasons why that's on the county property that could link up with the city and give the city time to prepare for a new business such as the residential center. I would also like, and I have reached out and been reaching out to have a discussion with, hey, if we can pull resources if we can get financing to pull resources for the city, and we are able to throw in the $2.8 million, let's just get the entire area repaired for the city. Obviously, that's something that we can discuss, and I'm completely open to that. Next slide. Job creation. This is one of the things that I am most excited about for the city of Opa-locka, and that's the job creation. The year one of the project of operations, we're going to create 38 jobs with a payroll of about $4.1 million. And again, it is my intention to set aside, to employees, to set aside 5%, and I put that in the lease, to set aside 5% of all jobs. So even if everything, let me say that too, let me back up. Everything that I'm proposing, I actually put in the lease. So even if for some reason, I come to an unfortunate demise, or the operation comes to some unfortunate demise, anybody that gets this project will still be required to fulfill all the obligations that I put in this lease. I put these things in the lease because I intend to do them, and I want to see them done for the city of Opa-locka, for anybody that should come behind. So there is a requirement to create 38 jobs for this project, and that is year one. Year two, I anticipate the jobs to jump up to 66 jobs and to create about $6.7 million in payroll. And again, think about, normally when you have these kind of projects with the county, what you're talking about doing is just create, like a lot of police departments. Yes, you spend a lot of payroll in police departments, but how many of those police officers actually reside, live, pay rent, have mortgages, spend money within the city limits? When we now look at that, it's very few. Every portion of this project is pushed to keep the employees close by to keep them within the city limits. That's beneficial to the health center, it's beneficial to our seniors, it's beneficial to the children that are being cared for, and it's also beneficial to the city of Opa-locka. It will increase our tax base, and it would also give the city more a stronger financial footing. The salary for the entry-level positions is $12.50, and that is for the very, very entry-level positions. The bulk of those jobs that I will be looking to fill with residents with the city of Opa-locka are start at $15 an hour. And then our salaries for our professional positions go all the way up to $300,000. We actually may have a specialist that will be coming in that will be creating $400,000, whose salary may be $400,000. So I'm hoping that this will be a great opportunity for the city with a fresh new batch of residents. Next slide.
Okay, Mr. Williams, we do have a time constraint that we're dealing with, so if you could kind of wrap it up.
Let me wrap this up. There are several programs in here. Lubo, could you go to slide 2? Great. So let me just go straight to the summary. The jobs training programs, I've actually created 4 different training programs: medical office assistants, a clinical medical assistant, a healthcare administrator, and also a billing and coding program. I'm working with the vice president over at FMU to create these programs, and these are the type of programs that we want to have the citizens access to, so that they'll be gainfully employed either at this center or somewhere else in the healthcare field. I'd also like to invite the city to partner with us to do our annual job fair, particularly before our launch. And I'm open to questions. This is something that we're really excited about doing. As you can see, I tried to throw the kitchen sink at this to try to help improve the health and wellness for the residents, and also the financial and tax base for the city.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Williams. If there's any of the board members that have questions or concerns, you can express them at this time.
Mr. Gay. Board Member Bass here.
Go right ahead.
What I would like to say is that I wish he had sufficient time for his entire presentation. I know it seems to be lengthy, but when we're looking to bring projects into our city, I think the more that we know about it, the best we're more prepared to make a correct judgment for that project. And I would have been pleased if I was able to hear the rest of it. Just my point of view. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for your presentation. Seems like you got a lot of moving wheels there, and it seems to be, one of those wraparound projects that address a couple of our community concerns, such as, public health, some of our infrastructure issues, as well as, jobs in our community. So it all sounds good. Definitely looking forward to seeing this project move forward. Just to kind of confirm a couple of things, I think you said 2023 will be the start date. I just want to know the official start date, or the completion of the first phase, or however you building it out. Also, I heard you speak briefly about the site plan. I know we generally like to encourage more architectural design and most of our new developments in the city. I don't know if you guys have given any consideration to that, but I know that's it's always a consistent of the board, in addition to impact fees and other items that we add. So, but thank you for providing something so comprehensive before the board today, and something that would definitely impact our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We had not considered that, but I think that is a phenomenal and a great idea. I would love to implement that. One of the things that makes Opa-locka unique is its architecture. So we can carry that through with the new structures. I'd be more than happy to do so. As for the time frame, I am looking to have phase one, which is the existing building, which is the rehab, which will have everything except for the food bank. So that would be the senior center, the health and wellness, all of those components, the healthy eatery. That I'm looking to have that completed by this time of next year. And since it's, so we're looking at 12 months and well, a little bit more than 12, September of next year. And we're looking to start demo in September, hopefully.
Great. So we should be seeing a site plan and agreement pretty soon.
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
My pleasure.
Hi, I have a question, Ms. Williams. Can you give me a little bit about your background here
Yes.
in Opa-locka, Miami Gardens?
Yes, ma'am. So my educational background is I have a doctorate in law from the George Washington University in Washington, D.C. I have a master's in public health from the George Washington School of Medicine in Washington, D.C. I have a MBA, master's in business administration from the University of Miami. I have been a healthcare executive here in South Florida since 2006. I've owned and operated one of the third largest third-party intermediaries. We went up to $15 million before we sold it off. I've also been the assistant city manager at the city of Opa-locka, and I've had the pleasure of working underneath Mr. Daughtry twice, and Miss Yvette, and also Mr. Brown.
Okay, I heard you speak of senior facility. And the first phase that you're talking about, are you referring to, I'm sorry, y'all have to forgive me, grandchildren in the background playing Fortnite, about to get thrown out the house. Anyway, about to get put out the door. That's why I was outside. But anyway, when you talk about a food bank, are you talking about an on-site food bank?
Yes, ma'am. I have set aside 4,000 square feet for both storage and training. So what we're looking at doing, COVID is changing our architecture plans right now because particularly the way the United States is responding, we anticipate that this will be around for a few years. So one of the things that we're looking at doing is do some in-house training when they come to pick up the meals. They also get cooking courses with healthy preparation to still make it taste good and soulful. Yeah, that's one of the problems with healthy eating in the Black community. People always complain about how it tastes. So the chef that we've gotten involved is a chef from New York City who's going to be relocating to Miami. And I selected this particular chef because he had a book published about how to make healthy food taste soulful. And I actually had some of it. I said, this would be the perfect guy for this project. So yes, we're going to be providing all of those services right there on site.
Okay. My next question is that in that area there, there's a lot of businesses around there that I think not so very good for the environment. So putting seniors, and not only seniors, children, seniors that will be living in that area, have you taken into consideration the environmental impact that it would have on those seniors with a mixture of businesses that we have back there in that area that carry all kind of environmental concerns for me?
So outside of what was required to get to prepare the plan, such as zoning and also impact, we had to do an impact study for the county as well. Nothing specific to seniors, but to anyone that's going to be utilizing the services. Yes, we had to do that. I actually went to some of the facilities that are around in the area myself. CARICOM is the largest business that is in the area and it's directly behind the unit. And I spoke to the gentleman, the owner there, Mr. Powell, and talked to him about this business and would it be a disturbance? Would we be a disturbance? Did he have any concerns? And he seemed generally excited about the prospect of this. Also, located directly next to the project is a warehouse on the front that's not being utilized, and they're leasing out the back to a small business. So we didn't see anything that would be any detriment to our seniors. But one of the things that I'm also looking to do is having full-time security service. It would be one of the greater expenses of the center, but I think security, particularly for seniors, is going to be of the utmost importance. So we're going to spend the extra cash on that to have 24-hour round-the-clock security along with surveillance and cameras and things like that.
Well, my main concern is as you know, in Opa-locka, over the years, many businesses have been allowed to take shop where you have residents, and
Yes.
I'm not too fond of that. So I want to make sure that if we're going to be putting seniors over there, that 10 years down the line, that we don't start having seniors having environmental issues, and then they come back and say we didn't do due diligence in making sure that that we were safety was done concerning those environmental issues.
Also, so now I understand your question. We will be doing some additional studies on that once the demo starts. Right now, the plan is to do a rehab, but if for any reason those studies don't come back favorable, I have it already written in the lease that we do have permission from the county to knock that entire building down, graze the property, and start from scratch.
Okay. Okay. Thank you thank you for the presentation. Very informative. We look forward to some positivity going on that corner. That's a thoroughfare for the city of Opa-locka, and right now it's a real sore. I rode around it just yesterday, and I saw that looks like something was going to be happening soon. So I'm glad to see that that you all are going to be going in there and put the positive things together for the city, especially on the 27th Avenue.
Absolutely. Very excited.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
Okay. Mr. Gay?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. That moves us to our last item, looking into the future for our CRA. And, it's very unique that we were able to segue from this particular facility and where it's located and to look at opportunities for changing the way business is done within our city. One of the things that the CRA master plan talked about, the redevelopment plan talked about, is creating business opportunities and creating nodes of new business relating toward technology. Within this particular segment from 151st Street down to the railroad right of way, and from 22nd Avenue to 27th Avenue is this industrial area, which we kind of see that it's kind of going through some changes. One of the things that we're looking at leveraging as a part of what's being promoted through the redevelopment plan is to look at the introduction of more technology versus basic industrial uses or heavy industrial uses that is commonly seen within the city of Opa-locka. We are proposing to kind of rebrand this particular area as a technology district, and which would be more consistent and more congruent to have a mixture of residential and commercial, or to create that transition between residential and industrial uses. Mr. Delane, our city planner, has been working with creating this language for this redevelopment of this area and the creation, evolving it into a technology center for the city of Opa-locka. So I've asked him to come and just make a brief presentation as to what our intent is in order to create this new overlay to promote technology within this industrial area. So, Mr. Delane.
Excuse me, Mr. Gay, before Mr. Delane come, can you please make sure that we get a copy of the previous presentation that was shared by Mr.
Yes,
Williams?
yes, ma'am. We will provide that for you.
Thank you.
Hold on one second.
Ms. Russell.
Yes, sir.
I guess I kind of missed the presentation on the facade improvement program and information about applications and how our business owners can apply.
We're coming back to that. We went to the presentations from the projects first.
Okay.
So that we would give them ample time, which again, looked like time was real short. So we're gonna go back to those.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Mr. Gay, can you please
Yeah.
give him a time frame in which to make this presentation?
Okay, it's going to take about 5 minutes. He actually had to come back into the system, so he's in the process of doing that now.
Okay,
So
well,
give us a couple more minutes.
well, while we're waiting on him, can you give us an update on the facade program? Or he does that also?
He's going to be making that presentation as well. But in the meantime, if you want me to go through item 5 and highlight where we are with some of those items, I could do that.
Okay, that'd be fine.
Okay. Last time we spoke to you, we spoke on the items or the projects that were in process as it relates to CRA redevelopment activities.
Hey, Ms. D.
We talked about the redevelopment plans, the projects and programs, and
Say what?
within the last packet that you had, there was a list of all of those particular projects that were highlighted within that particular. There's a list of approximately 25 items that were identified as potential projects within the CRA. And they focus on the different areas within the CRA, within the downtown area, the Magnolia North area, Magnolia Gardens, and the Opa-locka and the June commercial and commerce industrial areas. So we spoke on that and how we wanted to concentrate our efforts on how to address those specific projects and programs within the CRA area. We also talked about the facade improvement. That information will be forthcoming very shortly. We talked about the downtown master plan. We're actually in the final process with going to contract with the consultants for that particular program. And we will be starting work. We're looking at initiating the actual activities come August 1st. So we will get that project moving forward. We also spoke to you about the Cuyahoga site and how that site, which was a brownfield site, it was a dumping ground for a demolition company from the 1970s and early 80s, and how that site is being cleaned up and how it's going to evolve into a residential development, maybe with some opportunities of mixed use along the State Road 9 corridor. But that project is being cleaned up, and they're actually going through a mitigation process to determine what type of development can occur on that particular site. Because it is a landfill site and because of certain soil conditions, they have to be very careful as to what type of residential development will be located on certain portions of the site. and the level of density or intensity of the project will be limited based on what type of topping or what type of fill will be put in place in order to allow for the proper type of development. Of course, you probably won't see any buildings of significant heights. You're probably looking at a low density townhome to a 3-4 story possible residential development, maybe with some live work opportunities to occur on that as well. But that's pretty much the limits of what we're looking at for that particular site. So they're still going through the mitigation process to get the site buildable and ready for development. And the last one was Historic City Hall. We spoke to you about the challenges that we have in relationship to Historic City Hall. This was one of the only historic properties that was focused on within the redevelopment plan. It spoke to the restoration of Historic City Hall and the adjacent fire safety building. The city is in the process of gathering and identifying a funding source to improve those particular conditions of the site and to complete the restoration process. We have changed the scale of the project based on the fact that the project was partially rehabbed, but then it was left partially exposed, and due to environmental conditions over a period of time, there may need to be some remediation to some of the work that was previously done on site. And the scope has expanded to include the historic fire station property as well, to be a part of the entire restoration process. So that project, the timeline for it, which we were hoping to have it in a better position for at least utilization sometime within the next 6 months, that because we had to go through an entire rebidding process, that timeline has been somewhat extended. And depending on, and there's going to be an evaluation of the condition of the property as it is right now to determine what the new RFP process should look like in terms of requesting the amount of work necessary to revitalize and restore the entire property. So that's just to give you a sense of where we are with those particular sites. If Mr. Delane is on now, we can go back to the Technology Innovation District and he can speak on that.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, you just got to speak up loudly.
Okay, give me a second. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Corian Delane, CRA Planner. The project that I'm presenting is the Technology Innovation District, and basically what it is, it's a rebranding of one of our commercial industrial districts into something that's a little bit more economically feasible in terms of new development. Reason that's being brought up is I know that there's a string of redevelopment activities for properties such as this, to convert them from, basically wastelands and, areas that have nothing but junkyards or businesses that, aren't really, they aren't really up to standards, in the 21st century. So what we're looking to do is convert this area into something to where we can expand the scope of different types of development, from mixed use, things that deal with smart tech, more innovative uses. So that's why it was a little interesting when the project for Wellspring popped up, because it was actually when this idea originally came up, the Jackson site was one of the anchors that was going to be utilized in terms of development. And I actually have a map here that I can show that gives an idea of, what that would look like, if everyone can see. So this is pretty
Mr.
much
Gay.
Yes.
Mr. Gay.
Yes.
Mr. Delane, he really needs to speak up louder. You need to turn his mic up, please.
Let me see if I can find some headphones. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you
Much
better
better.
now. Thank
Much-
you.
All right, good. We'll close this out. Close this out. Okay. As I was saying, I put together a map that kind of gives an idea of how the district's going to look. I mean, this is the current status of it now. And as you can see, I have in different areas where these will be the anchors for development, for new development. On the western portion, you see the Jackson site that was mentioned previously. I had already had that listed out, but now that Wellspring is looking to, bring development to the area, it actually fits right into what staff has actually already reviewed. So it's already something that, is feasible for the area to convert itself into something that's more economically sustainable, providing more jobs, providing housing opportunities, being an economic hub for the city. So this is something that staff has definitely taken the time out to do their research and put together language to actually rebrand the entire district. I could forward that over to the CRA board as soon as you all would like to review it. And that's pretty much the initial gist of everything. If there's any questions, I'm open to any questions.
Mr. Director.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, from the other board members, do you all have any questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Delaney. I know I kind of heard the brief discussion about the innovation district and kind of, I guess, where we're headed at from a development standpoint and encouraging, I guess, more tech savvy or tech-like businesses in our community. And also moving from the industrial, I guess, nature. Have we given any new consideration, I guess, to new opportunities that may present itself related to the changes, related to COVID-19 and the pandemic and kind of, I guess, the direction of developers and just opportunities that may be on the rise? Like, could you maybe talk about some of those opportunities?
So as I mentioned before, on the map, I highlighted nodes that could actually be the drivers for development in the area. So with the Jackson Health site, with Wellspring moving in, that's already one piece right there that could start to change the narrative of the area. And also we've had actually a plan that was approved for a medical training facility that was on the eastern side of the area. That project is still pending. And then we also have a city-owned property, which is the Opa-locka police station, which we've actually had conversations with, working with other entities to turn that actually into a small business incubator, to where local residents, if they have either business idea or want to start their own business or anything like that, local partners as well as the city would come together and pretty much put together a program to where we would have funding opportunities, educational opportunities, all that to provide for, new businesses. And then working with the CDC, there is a provision working with the CRA, there's a provision in our narrative to where, we can begin to acquire dilapidated properties or properties that are available. And that could be tied into the incubator where we could find opportunities to acquire those properties and lease them out to tenants of the incubator to run their business. So it's pretty much a cohesive area that can all intertwine with itself. Of course, it's going to take a little bit of work and, partnerships and things like that, as well as the nodes coming together and operating as planned.
Right.
But we have a core to begin that conversation with.
Right. And just to kind of throw out there the infrastructure challenges, I heard Mr. Williams, when he made the presentation with the WellCare project, allude to just, thinking outside the box and looking at options from the county as far as infrastructure improvements are concerned. And I am aware that that particular corridor of our community actually has a lot of infrastructure concerns.
Yes.
So I would hope, whether it's whether we're looking at a special assessment or just incentivizing our developers in a way to maybe put some investments in our infrastructure as we're building this. That from my perspective, that would be greatly appreciated. As we address the long-term kind of strategic vision of our community.
Okay. Well, as example, clearly Wynwood, Fat Village up in Fort Lauderdale, areas like that, they've all had similar challenges, but developers has come in and look at it as a blank canvas. And, once they started development, they end up putting money back into the infrastructure, repairing the roads, repairing, doing their plumbing, electric, all that whatnot to, lift up the standards of the entire area. So this is one of those things where all you need is a few partners to come in and start developing and making a presence for this type of development to occur. And over time, as soon as you get in more tenants, you're bringing in more revenue you can flip in and actually start to do significant changes to the area. So it's just a matter of changing the narrative, changing the identity of the area, and knowing that places like Wynwood is actually phasing out some of its original tenants with, ridiculously high rates right now. They're looking for somewhere else to go. Why not be Opa-locka? Why not be in the Tucania Innovation District? It's just something that, natural synergies is lining up, and we have the perfect location and we have the facilities to accommodate those, the businesses that are being moved out. I will say that for the existing businesses that are in the area, it's probably a matter of evolution. They could either adapt to new changes or, mature their business in a way that it fits into the nature of the area. But at the end of the day, we know that we're trying to provide something new for our residents, for our citizens, for our business owners. So this is just something that we can look at as a new opportunity.
Thank you. Oh, go, Mr. Day. I'm sorry.
All right, just allow me to piggyback off of Mr. Delane. And when you made your inquiry as to the infrastructure, as I look through the list of potential projects within the CRA plan, when you look under the area for the Opa-locka and Lejeune commerce areas, one of the last items identified is developing a capital improvement plan. Now, I know that our Public Works Department has been desperately seeking dollars to improve the infrastructure throughout the entire city, more so focusing on some of our industrial areas. They were looking at opportunities to fix some of the infrastructure within this industrial area, because unless the infrastructure is improved, these businesses cannot survive. But there is an opportunity where the CRA can make a contribution toward the infrastructure improvements within this industrial area, and it's already within your CRA plan. So there may be opportunities where the CRA and the city can joint venture or partner on some of those infrastructure improvements.
Okay. I know there's a lot of options out there, and I know that we can look at it that way. My perspective kind of is and will always be is, everyone should pay their fair share, which is, why I brought up the assessment. Many of our, if that was to take place long term, ultimately, those taxes, even within the CRA, would also, come from our residents as well. So just ensuring that our businesses are also, paying their fair share, and, that the bulk of the infrastructure improvements ultimately don't fall on, on our residents. So that's why I kind of head towards the, the special assessment. But again, I think anything or maybe a combination of all might get us to where we need to be. So thank you for that, Mr. Gay, and I'm done.
Okay.
Mr. Gay?
Yes, ma'am.
I like the presentation that was given, and I would also like to comment on Board Member Vice Mayor Davis. I've long said that businesses in the community, even with fixing the roads and the improvements, I see them for years have come before the commission and complain about the roads, but then they're the ones that bring the big trucks in and the 18-wheelers, and most of the repairs for these projects fall on the back of the residents. We always, very seldom do you see a business person come in other than Amazon that I could see, and I've been here for over 30 years, that they come and say, well, let us do something to make sure that the roads are repaired properly, rather than just putting out some asphalt and going on, and then soon as it rains, it's back. So I like the idea of Board Member Vice Mayor Davis. I like the idea. And another thing, in looking at projects, new projects that we're bringing into the community, we know that 27th Avenue is a thoroughfare, and we have the Super Bowl, we have many events that happen in Dade County, that people be moving from one area to Miami Gardens and coming through Opa-locka. So we need to try to also bring in businesses that's going to attract some of that big event, that big event dollars. So in whatever we're planning, let's not forget about those big events that come. Maybe they come once every 5 years or 10 years, in a major grocery store or something, other than gas stations and junkyards and stuff. So I like the idea of the tech hub, because that is something that we're moving towards. But let's not forget about other events that happen throughout Miami, and we want to be in a position, the city of Opa-locka, that we could generate and bring some of those things to our city as well, because they come right through us and go to other areas. They go to Miami Lakes, they go to Miami Gardens, but they come through Opa-locka to get there.
Yes, ma'am. I'm totally in agreement with you.
Nice areas that, with the new COVID laws, we know that restaurants have to be, large areas, but nice places where people can come and sit out, Ingram Park area. I passed by there, I think it was last weekend, and I see the people back there using for jet skis and to let their boats out. That's something that the city of Opa-locka should be, we should be taking advantage of that opportunity. If people want to use it, the city should be getting, getting something from that. So there are a lot of areas that we're looking in, but let's not forget the great needs as well.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, for those comments. And thank you all to all the board members for those particular comments. While I have Mr. Delane on, I know that there were some questions raised as it relates to our facade improvement project.
Yes.
I'd like to ask Mr. Delane to just kind of give us a brief update as to what's going on with that particular project, and how we're moving forward with that.
Give me a second. We'll close out of this. Okay, as for the developments with the facade improvement program, we've been in conversations with the CDC in regards to the release of advertisements, which was done on July 8th. And right now we've garnered a good amount of interest. I know they've told me that they've had initially 4, and I've also heard from Board Member Davis that we also have a few more inquiries into the project. So I believe that the CDC has already posted a link for the application on their website. I'm actually following up with them tomorrow. We have their agreement that they have to sign before they execute any work. But right now, we're looking like we're in good shape because we do have interest from businesses that are in the CRA to begin the program.
Mr. Gay,
Yes, Chair.
CRA, I thought we were going to be getting our own webpage.
We are going to get our own webpage. That is still being developed as the city's website is being updated. There are some aspects of the website that have been released out to the public, but the full system has not been totally updated as of yet. But there will be a CRA page, and I've actually asked IT to, on the city's main page, to put up an icon for the CRA so that people can immediately click on that and go to the CRA's webpage.
Okay, because in the CRA's budget, there are dollars there that goes to IT. And it was my understanding when we started the Facade program that there was going to be a link that people would be able to go to and download the application and also get information about the Facade program, and not only the Facade program, any other projects that we have going on. So if we don't get the CRA's webpage, or at least a link from the city's webpage, we're going to be far behind the 8 ball. And with today's technology, there's no reason why the people that are interested in the program should not be able to go to the website and download an application and see the project and move from there.
I totally agree with you. Matter of fact, we've had conversations with IT and as well with Opa-locka CDC. The information that they're putting on their website will be linked up to our CRA website and vice versa. So we hope to have that totally succinct with one another probably within the next week.
Okay, I'll be looking and following up with that, Mr. Gay, because when I looked at the CRA webpage, only thing I saw was some information from 2012, 2015, and maybe the Facade when they first put out the RFP for the Facade program, but I haven't seen any updates, as to our meetings, and so we really need to get on that. If Mr. Nelson is on the call now, on the Zoom now, and if he could, well, you said you're gonna get, it should be up in a week, so we'll check back then.
Mr. Lubo is on the line monitoring for IT, so he's been assisting us in getting information linked up. So we will be having a conversation with them. We pretty much have a conversation on a weekly basis. There's still more information that needs to be uploaded onto that particular page, and I think the format of it may be modified a little bit. So it's still a work in progress. It's still a work in progress.
Well, it's not something that you're starting from scratch, so it shouldn't be a very, very difficult. So I'll be looking in a week to follow up.
One thing that we do have to take in consideration, our website had some requirements as it relates to ADA, and some of our documentation did not meet those particular requirements. So some of that information needs to be reformatted so that it can meet the ADA requirements before we put it onto the website. So that might be one of the minor issues that might slow us down a little bit. But as soon as we're able to get it into the proper format so that it meets ADA requirements, we'll have that information available.
Okay, well, right now, if someone is interested in the project, where can they get an application from now to put in? And the instructions as to how the program works, where can they go today?
Mr. Delane?
I spoke with the CDC yesterday about placing the application on their website. So it should be on the website, but I'll validate that and I'll have it for the board.
On the CDC's website or on the city's website?
It'll be on both websites, but the CDC, since they're initializing the program, it'll be on theirs and then it'll be on ours.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
can we have I guess a timeline or a date for that? Just so, because I mean, community members are reaching out if it's going to be this week, next week, 2 weeks from now. Just in your estimate, through the chair to staff.
It is pretty much our intent to have everything up and live by August 1st.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gay.
Mr. Gay, that seems to be a long time since the
That's
project.
2 weeks. It's 2 weeks.
2 weeks and it'll be up.
2 weeks and the information will be up and available. I'm saying between now and then. So at the latest, it'll be August 1st, but we're looking to get it up prior to that. Once it's up, we will release the information and let all of the board members be aware.
Okay.
Okay.
And I know we have Eric Strickland on the line. He's with the CDC. I'm trying to see if I can get him to chime in very briefly.
Orion, yes, I can speak, if that's okay, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Go
Thank you.
ahead. That's Mr. Strickland.
Yes, this is Mr.
Okay.
Strickland with
Yes, go
Opa-locka
ahead.
Community Development Corporation. So our process right now, we have 3 forms that each interested party will use to apply for the facade grant. So, and we have a designated contact person, Marcia Grant, at the CDC. So the website, the social media, as well as some direct emailing and mailing, there are designated applicable properties based on the boundaries and the type of commercial facilities. So we have a strategy to get the word out. So as the links are developed, our information will be live on Friday. And Corian has that information now. You can, if Corian, if you desire, you can share that amongst all of the board members on the call here. So these forms consist of an application, a sample of the agreement, if awarded funds that the business enters into, and the overall policy and procedures for the program. So that will go to each applicant. So it's a pilot program. As we get feedback from applicants, from the city, feedback that you're getting, that's the intent, to make an adjustment to any of the process here. Thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Chair, you're muted.
Madam Chair.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I hear Mr. Strickland saying that by Friday, their webpage will be up and you'll be able to access the application from there. And I'm happy to hear that we've had so much interest in this project. It's been a long time and I look forward to it. And Mr. Director and Mr. Delane, I know we had spoken in one of our previous meetings about making sure that there's signage that's up, whatever projects are going on, that there is signage up stating that it's a CRA project so that the community will be aware. Did you hear, Mr. Director?
Yes, ma'am. I did get all that information. As a matter of fact, we've been playing around and doing some little doodles. One of the things that we've noted that other CRAs, and it was probably expressed at the previous workshop, that the CRAs had their own particular logo and their own particular branding to separate themselves from the municipality. So we are kind of playing around with some ideals of how we can create a special logo for the Opa-locka CRA. So we will be bringing that information forward to you.
Okay, thank you. Let's just make sure we have whatever projects are accepted, and when they begin to work, that there's a signage up so that the community will know that great things are happening in the city of Opa-locka.
Okay, very well.
Anything else?
We're actually past our time. I don't know if some of the board members may want to speak on some of their ideals as it relates to how we're looking at what the future updates with the CRA and the redevelopment plan. You know, that's something that we've kind of spoken on consistently, that the CRA plan needs to be updated in some way, shape, or form by adding on additional programs, projects, and activities. And also taking into consideration that the CRA only takes up approximately 18% of the city. And there are some areas where the CRA is split right down the middle of the street, where half of the street is in the CRA, half of the street is out, especially on commercial corridors, and how those issues needed to be rectified. So we need to begin to have the discussion as to how we're going to move forward with updating the CRA redevelopment plan. Are we going to look at it from the standpoint where we're just leaving the boundaries as are and updating it with projects and programs and activities? Or are we going to look more advanced in looking at changing the boundaries, which will require us to do an update to the finding of necessity to expand the CRA beyond where it lies right now, and then introduce additional programs, projects, and activities as well. In terms of the requirements for that, they both pretty much have the same requirements. You would have to have a consultant to come on board to basically update our information. It will have to go through the same review process, which involves Miami-Dade County. The only differences between the two is that if you're expanding the boundary, you would have to do a finding of necessity report for the area that you are expanding into, and basically give a statement that you're trying to remove the level of slum and blight for those particular areas, and do an update to the CRA plan. So those are some of the conversations that we need to have, and we can either do it in a workshop fashion, or we can have it at subsequent CRA meetings to begin to address those specific concerns as to the need for updating the CRA plan and potentially expanding the CRA plan as well.
Okay, well, maybe that's something that we could look at in our future meeting. You've talked about the plan a lot and the boundaries. I don't know how long that process would take, and because they're talking about sunsetting CRAs, you know, whether we would have sufficient enough time to get that done, and then also get some projects completed as well. So that's something that the board could think about.
As it stands right now, our CRA is slated to sunset in 2033. So that's 13 years from now. The state passed legislation last year, basically requiring that all CRAs to sunset in 2039. So with that being said, with the update of the plan and extending the time and possibly looking at expanding the boundaries, we can add an additional 6 years to the life of our CRA. Now I can tell you, based on some of the activities that are going on with other CRAs in Miami-Dade County and Broward County, if you are engaged in some type of financial bonding within your CRA can continue until that bond either matures or expires. And in most cases, if you were to do a bond now, most bonding would require at least 15 to 20 years before they even mature. So that, in essence, can be another way of extending the life of the CRA based on you doing some type of bond financing in order to do additional programs, projects, and activities and extend the life of the CRA.
Okay. All right. Well, that's something that we as board members could think about. I know that we are kind of crunched for time. I have some questions I wanted to ask concerning the budget. I don't know how much time we have, or it can be discussed at our next meeting. But I have some questions that I would like to ask
Okay.
about the budget.
We do have a CRA meeting scheduled for next week. And we were intending to at least give you a preliminary presentation as to the budget itself at that meeting. If you would like to wait to that particular time, we can do that at the meeting for next week.
Okay, because there's some costs on the budget that seems to be very, very high for the CRA, and you could look at them and bring some answers back to the next meeting. And one of them is the insurance, the risk I guess that's the risk management allocation that the CRA pays out of their budget.
Mm-hmm.
And some other things that a question I'll get with you on them. But also I spoke to the manager as well that CRA need, if they could find some space available, that the CRA can have an office.
Okay.
Because if we're paying all of these expenses out of our budget, we should have an office there that we'll be able to handle the business of the CRA.
I hear you.
Board members, your input on that?
I concur.
I think I heard Board Member Commissioner Bass.
I agree with you, Chair Lady. I agree with you.
I see Board Member Mayor Paget.
Yes, I just want to just put emphasis on the importance of that historic city hall. I don't know if we're going to talk about the future updates and projects at the time, or we're agreeing to what you proposed.
Well, they talked about it some. He gave us an outline. I think, Mr. Gay, you can help me out. I think you told us that project was still on hold because you had to get a new contractor in. So the monies that we had allocated for that haven't been, I guess, haven't been moved yet because they're waiting on getting a new contractor to come in.
Yes, that is my understanding. The project is being reanalyzed. Basically, the Public Works Department is looking at doing an assessment to the property to determine whether some of the work that was previously done is still in place or at least salvageable to the point where they can continue on with the restoration project, or whether some of that work needs to be pulled out and replaced. So the assessment is being done by our Public Works Department, and I believe they may be hiring a sub-consultant to deal with that. Once that is done, they will be looking at doing a new RFP or RFQ process to hire a new contractor to come on board to deal with the continued restoration of the site. It is anticipated that the cost for the restoration will go up as it relates to that. Remember when the city was looking at seeking funds in conjunction with the CRA initially, they were looking at seeking approximately $175,000, I believe, to go with the $525,000 that they had to do work for approximately $700,000. Now it is anticipated that the work, and this is what this will be based on the assessment that's done on the site. It is anticipated that the cost for completing the rehabilitation of Historic City Hall will cost somewhere between 1.2 to 1.4 million dollars. So there's going to be a definitely cost increase for the completion of the restoration of the project. In addition, it is anticipated that because we did proffer to participate in the restoration of the project as outlined within the redevelopment plan, that the portion that the CRA could potentially pay will also be increased. So instead of it being $175,000, it's going to cost somewhat more. The initial ask was basically I think it was like a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 match. So mathematically, they could be looking to put in $1 million, $1.2 million, and may ask for an additional $250,000 to $300,000 from the CRA to complete the work. All that will be determined once the assessment of where the building sits right now takes place. So that is work that is ongoing right now. Once that assessment is done, we'll have a better picture as to what work needs to be done, getting a new contractor online, and having a timeline as to how long it's going to take to make those improvements to get that project moving forward and to complete it. Also, I did mention, and I will confirm this with the Public Works Director, they were also looking at expanding the scope for that particular project to include the historic fire station, the historic fire station property. And I've heard that there may be some talk about having the former HR building to be included as a part of the scope as well. But we're only concerned about the historic properties.
Okay.
That's going to be our focus, and that's what's identified within our CRA plan.
You are correct, Mr. Gay.
Working on the historic properties.
Okay. Before you go, before you speak, Mr. Austin, Board Member Paget, does that answer your question?
When you say we only focus on the historic portion, you're saying the whole complex doesn't count as historic?
It does not. The building that was used for HR is not a historic property. That's the concrete structure that's to the rear of the property. That is not a part of the historic designation. Only the historic City Hall and the fire station are designated historic on that site.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure that we have that as a priority, and we are allocating the funds. That outside of infrastructure development within the city, I think the historic City Hall will probably be the greatest benefit in regards to development and further development in the CRA area, and bringing more attention to it, bringing more potential developers into downtown, and also creating much more foot traffic and tourist spots to it. So I want to make sure, and also it can also be used as programming for youth, adults, and quite a few others. So it's a significant opportunity that we've been sleeping on for quite a while within the city, within the CRA. And I want to make sure that we have that as a high priority. There's no other city in the state of Florida that has such a property. It is one of the largest Norse architectures in the Western Hemisphere that's still standing. And we can't sleep on it. We need to make sure that if the funding is coming in, we do what we can to allocate and ensure that that's a beacon for this city. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Also,
we do have Mr. Austin. If you want to just verify some of the things that I've spoken on, I just want to make sure I was in the right place and saying the right thing.
Mr. Gay, you're absolutely correct. As it relates to the historical fire station, that's going to be a part of our assessment for structural integrity. So we could come up with the costs to get that facility rehabilitated. We are taking this City Hall project really seriously. As it relates to the GOB, they're providing us with $600,000 towards this project. I've recently gone back to them. This is going before the Miami-Dade County Board for approval without no objections from any of the commissioners at this time. I've asked them to provide us with an additional $500,000 on this project. They're amenable to that. Once the project gets going, we could come back and give them an update and get any remaining funds that we need to complete the project. So we are working hard in the background to get this project up and completed.
Thank you very much.
Well,
I'm sorry.
thank you, Mr. Austin, for that update. But we look forward to working to get to help for the CRA to help in that initiative of getting the historical City Hall. That's why I'm concerned about the budget, because the expenses that I see that the CRA is paying out every this yearly budget that's here is a lot of money that's coming out of the CRA budget that really concerns me. So if we're putting this much money without even started a project yet, and we're spending, and the CRA have this many expenses already, that concerns me.
Okay.
That deeply concerns me.
I would like
So
to.
if we're looking at, we had allocated what, 200,000 or 150,000 towards that, 155,000 towards that project. And if it might go up to 300,000. And if you look at the expenses that the CRA is paying right now, according to this budget, that concerns me. That concerns me.
If I may, I would like to speak to the HR facility. This is an ancillary part of this whole project, being that if the historic City Hall is used for any gathering, such as a wedding or something like that, you would need the HR facility to provide for services such as food preparation or any staging required that cannot be completed in the historical City Hall facility itself. So please give some consideration to that project once we obtain the full rehabilitation costs.
Well, we look forward to seeing what the full project is going to look like and the cost. And then we as a board can, I think that we could come up with a good participation from the CRA. But keep in mind, and I encourage all of the board members to please look at the budget of the CRA. What is the expenses of the CRA's budget? And next week when we have our meeting, hopefully someone from finance is here to tell us how they came up with these numbers.
Madam Chair, yeah, I definitely would like to get a copy of the running list of expenses. Because I know that we approved the Facade program and the development, and I know we have staff. Are there any other expenses that we've expended outside of that? That's a question for the executive director.
Through the chair, there are some anticipated expenditures, which is, I believe, what maybe the chair is looking at, but those are not forecast to take place within the next fiscal year. So as it stands right now, the only expenditures that we're looking at is the 10% for staffing. And we the 10% for staffing, you're looking at the downtown master plan costs, and you're looking at the facade improvement costs. And then there may be some other ancillary costs relating to the audits and the city attorney's fees associated with that.
Okay, and sorry, Madam Chair.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So with those expenses you detailed, because I know right now we haven't expended anything for the historic city hall. And that probably is not going to come online until actually we start moving the project forward. So are there any other expenses? Well, actually, what will be the surplus from this year going into the next year based upon the charges that you just detailed, the expenses you just detailed?
Before you answer, Mr. Gay, you could also answer my question along with what you're going to say to Board Member Paget. The way this financial reconciliation is kind of together, where it have the salaries, and it says 10% of community development, that $300,000, is that 10% is going to come from that 300,000, or 300,000 is the amount that the CRA is contributing to those salaries?
You're looking at the reconciliation?
I'm looking at the financial reconciliation that you gave us as part of this report for the workshop.
Correct. Okay.
So it says salaries, 303,274. Is that the total salaries for community development, or is that the 10%? Because it says 10% of community development. So is 300,000 10%, or is that the full amount of community development? And 10% is going to come from that 300,000.
The 303,000 is the full allocation. Actually, you have two levels of salaries if you're looking at the expenses.
I'm looking at that, but if you explain the top one, if you explain the, go ahead, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
It's actually $350,000 if you combine the regular salaries and executive salaries together.
Yes.
From that, 10% of that is going to be paid as the salaries for the CRA. 90% is coming from the city's budget.
Okay, so see, for us that's looking at the budget, that would be that looks a little confusing, because it should only have the 10% that's coming from the CRA's budget. Because if you add it all up, that 869,000, that is not a correct number. Because if we're taking 10% of the 300,000, then that's like 30,000, right?
35,000.
Yeah, 35,000. So this 800 and something total down here is not a right total if we're looking at it. If you're looking at the budget, that wouldn't be right, because it's only 10% of that dollar amount up there, and not 303,000.
Okay.
So when you, if you have someone from finance that can give us a total, because when we're looking at, especially the historical city hall, that's going to take quite a bit of money, we want to make sure that we have the correct figures as to what the CRA have, so that we could allocate the funds that need to be to help out with that project. So we need correct numbers, and then we need them explained so that we will understand them. So for the next meeting, you can do that. That's my concern.
We will have the finance director and the budget director who work very closely in putting these numbers together. We will have them to come and make a presentation so that you'll have a full understanding. But just take in consideration that at the end of the day, this financial reconciliation was done basically to show what the exchange was between funds owed to the CRA and funds that were owed to the CRA from the city and funds that were owed to the city from the CRA, and how we were trying to basically make sure that the budgets were balanced on both. But whatever was owed to the CRA got paid to the CRA, and whatever is owed to the city is paid to the city. And matter of fact, we're probably going to be working on legislation from both entities to pay each other what they're rightfully owed.
Okay, so that would help us out a lot, because I see it looks like a $2 million figure here at the bottom. So you know, the numbers, you know, if they explain them to us, I think we'll have a better understanding, because we want to make sure that when we allocate monies for the project, and I know Mr. Austin and your department, you're working hard, and I know it's a priority of the commission to get Historical City Hall up and running, because the longer it stays down, the more it's costing us. So we look forward to getting this done so that we could make the allocation to help out with the Historical City Hall project.
Yes, ma'am. We will have that.
So for next week, we could have that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, any closing from any board members, and then Mr. Gay, and we could close out. I don't see anything from board members, so Vice Mayor Davis.
I'm sorry, real quick before we close out, I didn't get a chance to kind of address it to Mr. Austin, but I know he mentioned the county process and going after GOV funding to assist with some infrastructure challenges. I know in the past with CDBG funds and other grant opportunities through Miami-Dade County, we've invited the commission as well as you know, city manager, staff come out and support. So Mr. Austin, well, through the chair, Mr. Austin, if you could, you know, get us those future dates and make sure the commission knows, so that, you know, we can do our due diligence as far as reaching out to the county commission and or, you know, speaking on behalf of the city. It would greatly be appreciated.
Yes, sir, and we do welcome your support.
Thank you.
And it will be good to also include us in the CRA, because our support, we're better in numbers. So as many as we can get out to support the projects for the city would be good.
Will do.
Okay, anything else? Close out, Mr. Gay, for us, please. If you don't have anything else, we're gonna adjourn the meeting.
I do not have anything else. I think we pretty much discussed everything that needed to be discussed, and I appreciate everyone taking their time out from their very, very busy schedule. I know we've been Zooming all day. So this is like my 4th or 5th Zoom meeting today. So, and I know everybody has tons of different responsibilities beyond beyond just working for the city of Opa-locka, but we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to help us out and making sure that we're hitting the right priorities for the CRA.
Well, thank you very much. And I think that we're working towards a good plan, and I'm looking forward to positive things going on in the city. And nobody can tell our story like we could tell it. So when we're doing projects, advertising and telling the community what we're doing is very important. So having signage up to make them aware is an important thing. If nothing else, Mr. Gay, you can adjourn this workshop.
There is nothing else for us to discuss at this time.
Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
God bless. God bless.
Everyone.
All right.